To quote the inspiring fictional character that is Rocky Balboa, it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much can you take and keep moving forward? That's how winning is done. Injuries are going to happen. It's the NFL. It's the nature of the business. And the Philadelphia Eagles now have a pair of wounded birds who will miss this season. First it was Travis Long, and now it's JaCorey Shepherd, who tore his ACL during training camp Sunday. So what are the Eagles going to do now at the nickel spot? Well, that's what we're here for today. Mike Owens and Jeremy Burton are both here. Should be an interesting discussion. Let's start with Mike. How was your weekend?
Oh, it was a nice little weekend I had. I actually went to a family reunion up in Lancaster. My aunt and uncle own a farm. So, checking out the animals, hanging out with Donnie the goat. So it was quite the weekend. But obviously, yesterday at the link, the Eagles had their open practice. 43,000 fans attended. Everything was going great until, Shepherd laid out a big hit on Darren Sproles along the left sideline, and Shepherd went down, and he had to be carted off the field, and ended up being that, feared ACL injury. So now we're, kind of stuck in a little bit of a pickle after we traded Boykin. Really leaves us really thin at the cornerback spot. But it's no need to panic because, we've got plenty of guys that can fill in.
Yeah, we'll get into some of those guys in a second. Let's bring Jeremy on now. Jeremy, we had a little bit of a rambunctious weekend. You were down in Wildwood. Oh, tell us about it.
Oh, flip-flops and Keenans. There's lots of alcohol consumed and lots of women available. But, the best part was, hanging out with my buddy Adrian and just reminiscing on old Wildwood times and making new memories. But, yeah, I'm glad I made a trip down and hopefully can make another trip down before the end of the summer.
Oh, we made a lot of memories. It was a great time. We're not going to get into it here, but let's just say that we crashed a bachelorette party. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was the highlight for sure.
Oh, we danced. We danced the night away. All right, so let's get into the discussion now. We're going to go talk some slot cornerbacks now. A lot of people in Philadelphia are freaking out. At first it's Boykin. Now it's Shepherd. Oh, my goodness, what are we going to do now? The options are, they're a bit scarce. The one guy that we're kind of counting on right now is Jalen Watkins. The depth behind him isn't, that great. You got E.J. Biggers. You got, oh boy, what else you got? You got Denzel Rice. I mean, an undrafted rookie. There's not much there.
No, there's not much at all. But the Eagles, they do have some options where they can shuffle their players around a little bit because they have guys that have experience playing all the secondary positions, really. And, the one guy that you think of immediately is a guy, Nolan Carroll. He was slated to start on the outside this season, but he has some experience playing that slot cornerback spot. Another guy that has experience there is Walter Thurman, who is going to, be our starting safety opposite of Byron Maxwell. But, in certain, nickel situations, they could slide Thurman, down into that slot cornerback spot, which I think they were planning on doing anyway for most of the season. Then they would just, put someone else back there at safety when they go into those nickel packages. But they have some available options.
Jeremy, your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with Mike. You look at Watkins, you look at what Eric Rowe can do. Definitely have some veterans with experience like Nolan Carroll. Depends what Chip wants to do. I know Nolan was kind of the favorite to start opposite Byron Maxwell and have Shepherd in the nickel, but now that that's kind of out of the cards, I like to see what we can get out of Rowe. If he starts the outside, I'd like to have Nolan Carroll in the slot. But like you said, I mean, rookie corners, it can be frustrating. There's definitely a lot of growing pains. Corner is one of the hardest positions to transition to from college to the NFL. Trey Waynes was picked higher than Eric Rowe, and in the Hall of Fame game last night, he didn't really do that great of a job. We'll see throughout the preseason who starts there and who can contribute.
Yeah. The great thing about this show today is we all kind of have a little different opinion on the matter, and that's for some good discussion. Now, I'm going to say this right now. I hope people are going to go and press the dislike button because about what I'm about to say. In the whole scheme of things, I really don't think this injury is that big of a deal. But that's only if Jalen Watkins can stay healthy. The way I kind of look at it, you're going to get the same kind of production out of Watkins as you were to Shepherd this year, most likely. You got Shepherd's a rookie, Watkins is a second-year player, and they're both about the same kind of talent level. Shepherd has more upside, in my opinion, and will be better down the line. But Watkins has a year in the system. Even though he only really played one game last season, he does have that year under his belt. And I know it's only one training camp practice, but when Mike and I were there last Tuesday, Watkins was the one that played the best out of the three slot cornerbacks. When we're talking about Evans, we're talking about Shepherd, and Watkins. Watkins played the best. And who knows? We still got 4 preseason games to go. Watkins might have won the job anyway. So we'll see what happens. I mean, the thing that is concerning is if Watkins goes down, because Randall Evans is not looking good right now. E.J. Biggers stinks, and I got a stat for you if I can find it really quickly. Out of all the slot cornerbacks last year qualified, Biggers was the second worst in terms of passer rating allowed, 132.0. Second worst among all slot cornerbacks. That is terrible. So I don't think he's going to be seeing the field that often. I think this is Watkins' job. He's got to go run with it. And I'll get into Carroll and Rowe in a bit, but I'll let you guys, give your thoughts now. Mike, you kind of referenced a little bit about, before about what your thoughts were, but get into it a little bit more. Who do you think should be in the slot?
Yeah, well, I mean, you make some great points there, and I definitely agree with you. What this really comes down to, this injury, is really a depth factor. That's where it hurts us. And it really hurts Shepherd more than it does the team because you never want to suffer an ACL injury in your rookie year. It really sets you back. All you have to do is look at a guy like Josh Huff last year. Now, Josh Huff, he didn't even miss a season. You're talking about a guy who played most of the season, but he suffered an injury in the preseason, and it really sent him back mentally. So, never want to see that for a rookie. So that's a big thing with Shepherd there. But as far as who they're going to plug in there, if I had to guess right now, I'm going to say that they're going to move Carroll to the slot position. They're going to put Rowe on the outside, and then they're going to keep Thurman at safety. But in some packages they'll move Thurman up to that slot cornerback spot. But it's kind of a big risk because Rowe, if you do that, he is going to struggle a bit early on because he is a rookie, and you were just talking about the stats, how rookie cornerbacks struggle in their first year.
Yeah, Jeremy. Yeah, you kind of agree with Mike. You guys kind of have the same opinion. I'm a little bit different.
Yeah, I do really like Rowe taking that. Now that this injury happened with Shepherd. You hope Rowe can impress and have less rookie growing pains than normal and take that outside spot because I really like Carroll in that nickel spot and keeping Thurman at safety. Even though Thurman does have experience in the slot, I'd still rather have Thurman at safety over the likes of Earl Wolf. So I'm really hoping that Rowe impresses, and I am high on Watkins as well, mid-round pick from last year. And he does have a year in our defense in the system, and hopefully he can take the job and run with it, and keep Carroll on the outside, and then just have a rotation that way.
Yeah. You guys know my thoughts on starting rookie cornerbacks. And maybe as the season goes along, if Rowe can show something, maybe you can go Carroll in the slot. That's of course if Watkins kind of struggles a little bit. But I'm not big on that prospect. If you guys really want to get into my true thoughts on the rookie cornerbacks, I do have a video on JaCorey Shepherd and why I didn't want you guys to get your hopes up on him. You guys can click on that. I'm not going to get into all that here. But my thoughts on the rookie cornerbacks, I'm not big on starting them. And especially in this division, you put Eric Rowe out there on the outside. If you match up Des Bryant against him, you match up Deshaun Jackson against him, Odell Beckham against him, he's going to get burned. It's just going to happen. He's a rookie guy. You just don't see rookies excel. It just doesn't happen that much. And out of the guys, out of the first 2 rounds last year, you had Kyle Fuller and Jason Verrett. Those are really the two that kind of stood out. But there was also a lot of bad ones too. I mean, Justin Gilbert comes to mind very immediately. So it's hit or miss with those first 2 rounds, and this division is so littered with great wide receivers. That's tough for me to get behind having Rowe on the outside. Now, with that being said, Carroll's not really that great either. But as a veteran, I would have more confidence in him than Eric Rowe.
It's a risk. It's a risk you're gonna have to take. You mentioned all the receivers in our division. They can burn any of our corners. They can burn Darrelle Revis. They can burn Byron Maxwell. I mean, they can. They're just that great. And you're gonna have to, when we do play our division opponents, you're gonna have to scheme and give over the top help. That's where Malcolm Jenkins and Walter Thurman at the safety spots will come in and have to. You have to kind of cover these wide receivers accordingly. That's just the nature of the game, and these very talented wide receivers. So, yeah, putting Rowe out there wouldn't be the best in week 2 against Des Bryant, and when we play the Cowboys. But the kid's gonna have to learn. I think he's definitely gonna be in that rotation. I think Rowe and Carroll. On the outside.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like they're going to have to really throw Rowe into the fire here, and we'll see if he responds. Well, I know that personally, Adrian and I watched the draft together, and Adrian wasn't the biggest fan of the Rowe pick, so I can see why he has his views there on Rowe. But I was a fan of the pick, so I like him, and I think that they got to put him out there and see what he can do, get him that experience right away. But at the same time, I do like Watkins, and he did show some signs there when we went to the open practice on Tuesday. So if they do put Watkins in that slot cornerback spot, we'll see if he can step up to the plate. He does have a year under his belt, which a lot of people forget. So that will definitely help because he's been in the system for a year. So we'll see what happens there.
Yeah. And you know what? To go on your point, I don't even care if it was Trey Waynes on our team. I'd even have struggled, having him on the outside. Obviously, he's a little bit different because he's a top pick. He's a top guy taken from the cornerback spot. But I'm just, the rookie guys, man, it takes a little while. You got to kind of bring them along slowly, and that's kind of the way I see it with Rowe. I mean, even if you go back about a decade or so ago, you remember that little trio of cornerbacks? Well, 2 cornerbacks, 1 safety, we took all in the same draft. Lito Shepherd, Sheldon Brown, and Michael Lewis. Those guys, they brought them along slowly. It took them a year to kind of get accustomed to the NFL game. And, finally, Lito and Sheldon, they got their, much-deserved chance to start on the outside, and they were great. I believe they started second year. Rookie year, they didn't play much, and that's kind of how it is in the NFL.
Yeah, now, you make some great points there. And really, when you look at our secondary right now, it's a great unknown because we really can't tell you how this is going to turn out. It's a completely revamped secondary. We don't even know what Byron Maxwell is going to bring to the table. I mean, he's a guy that we overpaid for, but we had to bring him in because he was the top cornerback on the market. But he played, in a great system there in Seattle. So we'll see if he can do the same here in Philadelphia. Nolan Carroll, he's another unknown. We don't know what we're going to get out of him. He's a guy that hardly even hit the field last year, and now he's expected to play, a major factor in this secondary. And now we're also talking about rookies here. So, and Walter Thurman at safety, don't know what we're going to get out of him because it's the first time that he's even playing safety in his career. So really, with this secondary, it's hard to predict what's going to happen. We can only, predict what we think will happen.
Yeah. Jeremy, any more thoughts?
I couldn't have said it any better myself. Mike nailed it. It is kind of scary. There are a lot of unknowns in the secondary. We just hope Byron Maxwell lives up to at least being, I don't think he'll quite, we overpaid for him, but he was the best guy. Hopefully he continues to show his physicality and is a big asset to our secondary. But one thing I have to say is the scariest thing is if injuries do happen, like your opening line in the show. What if one more guy goes down the secondary? Then we are really, really in trouble. And I just hope all the pieces fall so we can cover these wide receivers in our division.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's switch the discussion a little bit. Obviously, a lot more offenses are going free wide receiver now. The old school slot cornerback was asked to do a lot more now than back in the day. And in the old school days, the slot cornerback would pretty much play zone coverage and hand off his man. Now he's got to adapt to option routes. You got to take speedy receivers all the way up the seam. You got to read, more complex routes concepts on the fly. You got to guess a lot more. It's a different style of play now, and I got a number for you. The average last season of teams who played nickel packages, 60%. So 60% of the time, you got 5 defensive backs out there. But when it comes to the Eagles, in terms of the Eagles, they're well below 60%. I don't know the exact number because I couldn't find it, but I just know that the average is 60%. Brandon Boykin was on the field 43% of the time. So the Eagles, they don't utilize their nickel slot cornerbacks as much because they like to play their safeties in the slot. And with the addition of Walter Thurman, he's obviously a lot better in coverage than Nate Allen is. So those two guys, I think, will be in the slot a lot more in the base packages, and you can kind of hide the deficiencies a little bit. And this is why I kind of want Watkins to be the slot guy, because I don't want Rowe to be exposed. I bring him along slowly, and that's kind of the way I see it.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you there that they're going to be moving Thurman into that slot cornerback spot when they go to that base coverage like you were talking about. That's one of the main reasons why they went out and got Thurman, because of that ability. Thurman, obviously he played that, slot position with the Seahawks. So that's the main reason that they like him there. And then, we'll just have to plug someone else in at safety when they do go to that base coverage and, bring Thurman down. Possibly Earl Wolf, who people forget about Wolf because of his injuries and really been a big disappointment. But, yeah, I'll agree. We just got to hope that Rowe can, fire that boat up. And, boy, he's going to have to be, going pretty fast down Boathouse Row. He can't be in last place. He's got to be in first place.
Yeah. Jeremy?
Yeah, you said it pretty well. You both made good points. I'll bring up Earl Wolf. He kind of has been the forgotten man, and we brought Thurman in and put him at safety, and Earl Wolf's, was his only experience in that spot, besides Nate Allen. Um, and Thurman is coming off an injury last year, so Earl Wolf has been known, he's had his ups and downs, but he was a pretty big prospect. People were high on him, but he hasn't really quite lived up to expectations. So we just hope that this rotation works itself out, and Watkins and Rowe and these young guys definitely are under the spotlight. And like you said, like Mike said, you hope Rowe can keep up his end of the race.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And to kind of lament on this topic a little bit further, because I mentioned 60% of the time defenses are going nickel. That's up from 49% in 2013. You had 44% in 2012 and 40% in 2011. So it keeps increasing year after year. And out of all the teams, the Detroit Lions led the league at 76.3%. So in my little pre-show research, I kind of found these numbers. Unfortunately, I didn't see where the Eagles were, but I would imagine that they're kind of down the list because of their usage of their safeties and having them play the slot. So Watkins, I don't know if he's the starter at the slot position. We had Boykin 43% last year. Maybe that number goes down to 35%. So you really wouldn't have him on the field that much. But at the same time, the Eagles' defense is out on the field a lot. So that 35% might also be say 50% for most teams. So you'd still maybe see him a lot because, Eagles always on the field defensively.
Yeah, I mean, the Eagles right now, like we've been talking about the whole show, they've got guys here that can, fill in for the loss of Shepherd. It's nowhere near a devastating injury. It's just a tough blow right now after the whole Boykin trade. And, really, I think that we can all agree on that this will only become a major factor if we lose another starting player in the secondary for the season. We can't afford another ACL injury.
Nope, not at all. Not at all. All right, let's switch it up a little bit more. Let's talk about Boykin now. We won't really get into him that much because, the trade's already happened. It's the past. It's time to move forward. So, but we will talk about him right now. We'll start with Jeremy. Boykin, actually, funny thing was he played pretty well last night. Had a couple of nice tackles, had a tip ball at the line of scrimmage, but he's not here anymore. So let's talk about Boykin. And it's just unfortunate that Shepherd got hurt, obviously, because he was, the guy that the Eagles were really high on, and the main reason why Boykin was traded.
Yeah, I didn't like that he got traded. And Boykin now becomes, I think, the best corner on the Steelers. The saying goes, addition by subtraction. Well, we subtracted and didn't get anything that's going to help us this year. We got a 5th round, potentially 4th round pick for next year, which is an unknown. A 4th rounder is, that's a gambling prospect. You don't know, it's not guaranteed to be a stud, and we get nothing out of it this year. And then Shepherd goes down, which is, devastating, more like Mike said before, for his career rather than for the Eagles, because you never want to see a rookie go down with such a bad injury. You need surgery, and he's going to be out all year. So we just hope that we can plug the right guys in. And, with Shepherd, he was a 6th round pick. You got to remember this. Expectations should have been, temperamented anyway. There's no guarantee. Maybe, like you said, Watkins could have beat him out for the job anyway, or whatever, whoever ends up in the slot. So, yeah, it's a blow, especially to our depth, because I know Chip and a lot of us fans were really high on Shepherd. So, we just hope that the right guys step up in his stead.
Yeah. Mike, your thoughts?
Yeah, well, apparently Boykin, he was not a fan of Chip Kelly's smoothies, and he felt like that he wanted to go to Pittsburgh because they don't have any smoothies there or anything like that, and there's no dictator like Chip Kelly, so Boykin he didn't want to follow in Chip Kelly's footsteps. And if you don't follow along those footsteps on the way to the practice field, then you get the boot. So that's what happened with Boykin, and it just really makes it a tough blow because as soon as you trade him, then we lose a guy that was supposed to replace him for the season.
Yeah, yeah. My like really quick thoughts on the situation. Obviously, we weren't going to re-sign him, and to get a 4th-round pick, it's going to be a 4th-round pick unless he gets hurt. So I mean, yeah, you get something back for him. What I would have rather kept him for this season, because I don't like the fact that you're throwing one of those young guys as a slot cornerback. I don't like that, and there are some people, there are some Boykin haters. I don't get it because there are some people who think he's overrated. I don't see that. I mean, they kind of look at his interception totals last year, and he only had 1. Boykin's never been a great, his hands have never been there. His 6 interceptions he had in 2013 were kind of an aberration. I was shocked that he had 6 in 2013, but to actually think that he's overrated, I don't get it. Especially when you compare him to Bradley Fletcher and Kerry Williams, how can you even say he's overrated? And I do have a stat for you guys before, I pass it off to somebody else. All right, so Kerry Williams and Bradley Fletcher, they combined to allow 14 touchdowns last season. Can you guess how many touchdowns Boykin allowed?
I'll say 0.
You are correct. 0. None. Zilch. Nada.
He was also only on the field for 43% of the defensive snaps, whereas Carey and Fletcher are more vulnerable because they're on the field every single snap on the outside, and they did face the likes of Dez and Deshaun and Odell and all the other great receivers.
Yeah,
I can remember one game in particular, Bradley Fletcher versus Dez Bryant. Who won that battle?
It wasn't Bradley. Oh boy, Oh man, I don't understand the Boykin haters though. Like, we had Bradley Fletcher and Kerry Williams on our team last year. Now I will say this: Kerry actually wasn't really awful. He wasn't really that bad last year, as people might put. Bradley, obviously, skin cancer all over his body.
Oh, he was toast, burnt toast.
Yes.
And also with corners, it's not all about interceptions. There's other stats that are important, like like you called out E.J. Biggers with the quarterback's passer rating or quarterback rating against the corner. There's passes defense. There's other aspects to being a corner than just the interceptions. A deflected pass stopping a 3rd down, is just as almost just as good as an interception. It's just very important. You stop the drive, get the ball back. So it's almost like a turnover on downs rather than a turnover as an interception.
Yeah, and Boykin's ability to high point the ball is really good. He's just not going to come down with it because his hands aren't that great. Like I said, I still can't believe he had 6 picks at 1 year. I mean, I laughed every time he caught the ball. I'm like, oh my God, he actually caught the damn thing. Normally it bounces off his shoulder pads and goes to the ground. Yeah,
I mean, with Boykin, the one thing that we'll always remember is 2013 when he sealed the NFC East for us against the Cowboys. He made that pick at the end of the game.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It was also Kyle Orton throwing the ball.
Yeah, that's true. Oh boy, oh boy, Kyle, I should have been Randy Orton for all you wrestling guys out there. All right, yeah, I mean that was actually one of the arguments that a guy on Twitter was making with me was, oh, you only like him because he had that interception against the Cowboys, dude. Oh, I quit with people on Twitter. That's all I gotta say. I mean, it just people on Twitter are so annoying, just terrible. Like so many amateurs I gotta deal with, put up with. I've had enough.
Yeah, well, they'll see that Boykin will do well with Pittsburgh, and you know, good for Boykin. I mean, really, the Eagles, actually they did Boykin a huge favor. So, that's why it was. We talked about this, before, but kind of ironic that Boykin made all those negative comments about Chip Kelly when, Chip Kelly was really the guy who was doing him a huge favor.
Yeah, yeah, seriously. Yeah, huge favor. He gets a chance to start now, and he can prove himself and get a big deal in the offseason. Yeah, go ahead. You were about to say.
Boykin was a bitter bird for sure.
Yeah, that's for sure. Bitter and angry.
Angry birds.
There you go. There you go. Pop the tea. All right. So, yeah, I mean, we pretty much discussed everything that I kind of thought we should discuss. I can't really think of what else to talk about. We're not really going to get in depth on these other options because I don't think there are any other options besides Watkins and your guys' theory of Carroll and having Rowe on the outside. EJ Biggers, he's not going to be our slot guy. It's not going to be Evans. I don't see those two. The guy that's been turning heads in camp is Denzel Rice, undrafted, but I'm not going to get my hopes up on a guy that's playing with third stringers. So, sorry, not going to happen. He's not going to be our slot guy. So it's Watkins, and like you guys said, it might be Carroll too. Those are really the only two options that I can see happening. And I don't see anything else.
The ACL injury for Shepherd really improved Rice's chances of making this team because at first Rice was kind of a dark horse to make the team, but I think with this injury it kind of solidifies his spot on the roster.
Yeah. And there was another guy who had a good training camp before the preseason game started last year. His name's Curtis Marsh. So, yeah, stop with the training camp hype.
Yeah, that's why all this talk, we really won't be able to judge any of this until we get into the preseason games.
Yeah, we don't know right now. This is all just speculation. Who knows? Rowe might go out there and look really, really good and maybe make me feel a little bit more comfortable, but I'm not really going to feel comfortable until maybe 4-8 games into the season if you bring them along slowly and I still keep seeing, improvements and seeing good play, then maybe I can, maybe make that switch. But as of right now, it's hard for me to get behind a rookie quarterback. I don't care if you're the first pick in the draft, the first cornerback taken like Trey Waynes, or if you're the last cornerback taken. It's hard. The transition is very, very difficult. Besides the quarterback, there is no tougher transition from corner from college to the pros, and it's really difficult.
We'll see the first game on Sunday. It's very close.
Oh, we're getting there. We're getting there.
News out there. I'm really, really anxious to see how these position battles are going to play themselves out.
Yeah. We're not even going to get into the other ones here. This is strictly on the slot cornerback this show. But yeah, right guard is way up in the air, and the slot cornerback. So a lot of intriguing battles we're going to see. So they'll get to actually face some other competition besides their own players. So should be a lot of fun, man. I can't wait. This is the most hyped up preseason that I can think of in a long time in Philadelphia.
Yeah, well, when you get 43,000 fans at an open practice, I think that would solidify your statement.
Yeah. Should we get into the banner stuff? Because
Yeah.
I was gonna talk about it, but now because the pilot passed away, even though the reports say that he might not even been the one that the banner he was carrying might have been a Bud Light banner, but it kind of brought my mood down about the whole thing because the one part about the Cowboys banner that made me laugh hysterically was the sacks coming. Because the Cowboys were 28th in the NFL last season in sacks with 28. So the sacks are, unless they're talking about Romo getting sacked, I don't know where they're coming from there. Because we sacked them about 40 times on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, well, the ironic part about that whole thing is, Greg Hardy was the one that donated some money and really got that Cowboys banner going. Well, I mean, I guess people forget that, Greg Hardy was a guy who, beat his girlfriend up with, guns, threatened her, and all these type of things. And that means that Hardy is not going to be on the field for the first 4 games of the season. So,
Yeah, so there won't be any sacks coming from him week 2. Jeremy, your thoughts?
I was gonna bring up Hardy too. The same thing. I know that I heard he funded that banner. But he is horrible person. The Cowboys would sign somebody like that. So I just hope our offensive line can protect Bradford and sacks don't happen. And they're coming on against Romo and Brandon Graham and Connor and all our studly linebackers. And hopefully we're getting more sacks than them.
Yeah, and the fact that they flew that banner during the national anthem on Military Appreciation Day. I mean, this is supposed to be America's team, and they don't even like America.
It just shows a lack of class, and I hope they, Cowgirls just have a horrible record.
Yeah, we all in Philadelphia hope that. Dallas sucks, and unfortunately, I don't really know the whole story with the pilot. At first, it sounded like it was the guy that was gonna fly the Eagles banner, but it sounds like it might have been another pilot flying another banner, and they just closed it down because of the accident. So, yeah. So we'll I guess we'll figure out more information, but. Yeah, an unfortunate tragedy, really. And the worst part, I wish I remembered this guy's name on Twitter. This guy was making fun of the situation. He was like, oh, the plane went down just like the Eagles season in 2015. It's just like, to say something like that, I don't care if it was the Cowboys pilot flying that banner. If that would have happened, that's a tragedy, too. So I don't know why people, sometimes people forget that football is just a game. There are more important things to life than football, and obviously this is one of them. And for somebody to make fun of this, I mean, the gall of you, I wish I remembered your name so I could call you the fuck out.
yeah, that's horrible. I mean, this was a stupid banner battle thing that we were going to have, and obviously, with the plane crash, our banner wasn't able to fly. Just a horrible tragedy. So, yeah, that people shouldn't have been, making fun of anyone in that situation.
No, not at all. Just completely classless.
Yeah, absolutely classless. And my thoughts and prayers go out to the pilot's family.
Absolutely. All right, so that's enough banner talking. It's really a shame that happened because I wanted to come on here and really, make fun of the Cowboys banner, but because of it, it's kind of hard to, it's just, yeah. So we didn't really spend as much time as I wanted to on it, but there's nothing to say, with what happened. So, all right, we basically discussed everything. It was a good show. Got a lot of different opinions, so that was good. Good discussion overall. And it's final thoughts time. Well, I guess we'll start with Mike.
Yeah, well, if all goes right and everything works out perfectly, we will be flying a banner over your house, Adrian, that says, Jeremy and Mike were right. Eric Rowe is a real deal.
I'll comment on that in a second, but okay, go ahead.
Nice. Um, Final thoughts. You ever want to impress a girl? Just sing the Backstreet Boys.
Dude, I was everybody. I was in the middle of the circle. I was killing it. Girls were loving it. Yeah, but going back to your row point, he could be good down the line, but I don't have any confidence this season. I'm just talking strictly about this season. Maybe he'll be better. Well, obviously he's going to be better next season. But yeah, that's basically my point on him.
Man, you're really tough on this guy. I feel bad for him.
Dude, he'll probably prove me wrong. I mean, I know a lot of Eagles fans like him, but when I popped on the tape, I just there were other guys that I like better. But hey, I could be wrong. I mean, I've been wrong before. I'm probably only right about what 90% of the time. I'm just kidding. But yeah, dude, definitely sing the. If you go out on the dance floor and make a complete fool of yourself, girls are weird. They like that shit. So yeah, especially at a bachelorette party.
Good times, man. Very good times.
It was a great time. It was a great time. Yeah, I was the baloney in an 8-girl sandwich. Oh, it was a great time.
There was a couple of those girls that I think would have eaten more than enough sandwiches, maybe throughout the day.
Yeah, unfortunately, the prospects were a little slim, but there were two. Oh boy, yeah, but yeah, great show today, guys. Yeah, we're gonna end it here, and for Mike Owens, that's Jeremy Burton. I'm Adrian Fedke. Go Birds, and we'll be back next week with a show. We're gonna be talking preseason football, so can't wait for that. And but for this week, we just gotta wait 6 more days now, so we're almost there.
Till next time.
Go Birds.
Go Birds, baby. Later, guys.